on Morning Air on Relevant Radio. So tell me if you've ever been in this situation before. You're not terribly happy with the job that you're in, and you're going to say, today, that's it. I've had it up. Today's the day I'm going to go in and quit. But before you do that, that's what we're going to talk about with Tracey Wilen. Dr. Tracey Wilen, who is a prominent thought leader on the impact of technology on society, work, careers. She's worked with a couple of little startups like HP, Cisco, and Apple. And we're going to talk this morning about something that I just saw in the headlines, Dr. Wilen, and that's something about Zappos. Maybe you've purchased shoes or clothing from Zappos.com. Tell us what's happening with Zappos.
Oh, sure, and good morning, John and Glenn. There was big headlines today on the Wall Street Journal. People know Zappos. They do mail-order shoes, mail-order sneakers. They're based in Las Vegas. And they've tried a new type of self-governing management style called holacracy. And it's not even in the dictionary, so you can't even correct me if I'm spelling it or saying it wrong. But it's all about why have managers? Why have bosses, right? Why not have self-governing circles? And Zappos has been in the news for a while because part of their philosophy is to hire employees, and if in the first 2 weeks they don't like the process or how they're self-governing with circles, well, they could leave and get anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. So today in the news report was that Zappos is offering employees 3 months severance if they really don't like the way the company is going with this new type of non-management systems, and 14% decided to leave. So that's very interesting.
Wow.
Well, you can say, 86% decided to stay.
Yeah.
But 14%, that's easy money. That's a nice size of cash. So it puts into perspective management systems. There's been a whole flurry of studies and reports coming out about why do people leave companies. Is it about the manager? Is it about the compensation? Is it about, liking work or not liking work? And I think there's a variety of reasons, and we can't really hone in on any one.
You can obviously speak for the 14% of those who left Zappos, but I'm sure if we went inside the numbers, Dr. Wilen, on that 14%, there may have been some who said, okay, let me just take the money and run. They've made that knee-jerk reaction, the short-term decision, which fits into our topic of whether or not you can just kind of walk in today and just say, I've had enough, and you walk out while you have satisfaction for about 38 seconds. You have to wonder, okay, what's next? If I'm not satisfied with the way the company is doing, what are some of the things that I should do, besides looking for another job, to prepare myself for the eventuality that I'm going to be out of work for, who knows, 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days, a year?
Right. And I think these are very practical questions that we have to think about before, because at some point in our lives, we're going to be in situations where we just don't like where we work, or we don't like the work that we do, and we start to say, should I quit? And it's a good time, and I'll just say it's a good time because we're shifting into a candidate market, which means that there's more jobs opening up, and candidates may get more than one offer, where a year ago they were getting no offers. But people need to think about it, as you said, can I afford it? And affordability is really not just 3 months. That's a very nice offer that Zappos gave potential employees. But the reality is you have to really have about a year's worth of savings or more, depending on your home situation, your debt situation, your family situation, and your lifestyle. And so I think people need to think about that first.
What are some of the reasons why people decide to leave? I mean, we think that, I don't like that, that Dr. Wilen, she's nice, but I don't like her. That's probably not a great reason to leave a job. But what are the reasons why people leave jobs?
Well, that's a very good question, John, because there were two studies that were just released this past spring, one in April and one in May. In April, the Gallup poll, which surveys populations, noted that over 50% of U.S. employees were leaving their jobs because they had bad bosses. And so their study indicated that it was all about people. At the same time, Ernst & Young, which is a large consulting firm, did a more global study across multiple nations, and that released in May. that said that overall there's 3 reasons why people leave their jobs. One is that they're not moving up in their wages, so they have to leave to find a better salary or opportunity somewhere else. Number 2 is that there's lack of advancement or promotion opportunities. And number 3 is excessive overtime. You know, there is this unwritten rule that people are supposed to work 40 hours. And interesting enough, in the paper this morning, again in the Wall Street Journal, they noted because you give people smartphones, home computers, and devices, there's this now unwritten rule that people should be using it all the time, and people are getting pretty unhappy about that because they're not getting compensated for getting up in the middle of the night and continuing to work. So there's a number of reasons, everything from people management to just lack of opportunity, and do I need to go outside the firm to find that?
Dr. Tracey, I know if I leave my job anytime soon, I'll be hauling my stuff out in a Zappos box because my wife loves Zappos, by the way, and we've had many boxes shipped to the home. But anyway, as John Wells knows, for example, our industry is a very small world in broadcasting, and we might dream big dramatic exit and saying, you know, see ya or more to several people. But the truth, with a very small world over time, and John, you've noticed this too, we've worked with the same people many times through the course of our careers, and I'm sure that's the case with a lot of other industries. True, doctor, is that we have to be careful about burning bridges.
Yeah, so Dr. Tracey, we always joke that in broadcasting, because we meet the same people over and over again, there are 500 people, but only 400 jobs.
You're bringing up a very good point. That is a key strategy that you're both mentioning, is you can't burn bridges today. We're too connected, and people are not leaving the workforce, right, because we're living longer and we're working longer. So that bad connection that you had in your 20s, well, that person may still be working now that you're in your 50s or 60s. So it's pretty amazing. But also networking and keeping up your networks. I encourage people to really think about leaving once they have another offer in place. And, you know, people are smart when they're interviewing. You know, are you running away from something or are you running towards something? You know, so running away, do I have a bad boss? Or are you running towards something like, is this a promotion and an opportunity for growth? And I would tell you that most recruiters can understand, or firms, when you say, it's time for me to grow rather than I have a bad boss. So there should be a lot of thought into making your next move and figuring out, what do I need to put in place to safely not burn the bridges I have today, and also liaison to my next opportunity.
Dr. Tracey Wilen, as we look at some of the reasons why people want to leave a job or just get up and quit, and there's that temporary satisfaction, what about looking at it from another viewpoint? Is it worthwhile trying to fix the system I'm in, or to have a better relationship with my boss, or to maybe look inward to say, well, maybe it's me. What can I do to make my work situation better?
Absolutely. There were a number of studies that came out that the issue is communication, that employees and managers are not having a continuous dialogue. And in fact, many times they leave it to the once-a-year performance review. And then it's too late. People are upset. They haven't been able to communicate, that they're frustrated. Managers may not be aware because they're managing their own careers. And so a lot of this can be solved by planning your own career and doing some self-assessment. Number one is, do you like your work? If you don't, are there other things in the firm that you could move to? Or are there activities that you could ask to be added on to your plate in exchange for taking something that is not as interesting off your plate so that your whole experience can improve? Are you having tension with your boss, and does your boss even know that you're frustrated with them? It might be worth just having one-on-ones, which is just one-on-one communication sessions, either in person or on the phone, every week, just, checking in a lot. And so I think there's always opportunities at hand, and the first knee-jerk reaction that people have is, I got to get out the door. And I'll tell you, it's not that much better out the door, so look internally first by making that move.
So when you do go out the door, there are a number of yardsticks that you can use, a number of resources, I should say, that you can use to find that next job and what it pays, what you might need. What are some of those resources that are available to us online should we be thinking about making that next career move?
Yeah, so I think before anyone leaves their job, you absolutely have to be very defined in knowing what you're targeting and what you're worth. Right, so people want to know what you bring to the table, and they'll hire you for being able to produce results on day one, not for what you wish you were doing, but what you can do. And number two is you better have a clear idea of what you're worth. So you can go out and do a lot of research on, look at salary surveys in your industry, look at job descriptions on the different job boards, Glassdoor.com, Payscale.com. These are all different sites that can give you insights into firms, into salary ranges, so that you have a lot more information at hand before you walk into any kind of interview. I always recommend that networking is still the number one way that people secure jobs, because at the end of the day, people hire people.
We always think the grass is greener on the other side and think, okay, my big payday is going to be at company XYZ. And again, there are online resources that can track what the average pay raise is these days. What is that? Is it still at 1%, 2%, 3%? Where is it? It's pretty low still.
It will vary, and I'll tell you why, because there are industries now that are absolutely booming, like high tech. And you can be a computer programmer, or if you're in the biological research field, and you can name your price. I mean, there's, if your skills are in high demand and in shortage, you have opportunities. But these are, complicated, highly skilled positions. Mm-hmm. Then we have industries that are in low demand, right? The energy industry, the oil industry took a quick flip. So I think it's important that people look at the industry and go out to look at salary surveys to say, what is the going rate? It could be 2%, it could be 5%, it could be much higher. So I think these are all important things to think about. The one thing I think that people forget when they walk out the door, remember the paycheck turns off, so do your stock options if you have them, so does your 401k, so does your health benefits, but you'll be offered perhaps COBRA, right, but it's much more expensive. So you need to remember that there's a lot of things that will get turned off that you won't get anymore, right? And so I think people in their haste forget, particularly if you have families, that there's a lot of infrastructure that companies provide for them that they may forget about, and that all will go away if you walk out the door.
Do recent graduates or graduates, let's say within the last 3 or 4 years, based on your experience, understand the consequences of just getting up and leaving a job? Or is that something that's probably not as important to them as it is for us baby boomers?
Yeah, so, it's interesting, the millennials, we talk about them a lot, and their job shifts, they walk out the door. To their concerns, when you get out of college, right now a lot of students have heavy debt. So what's top of mind is, how do I get out of this debt? Number two is, I don't know what I want to do. So then I get a job and I find out I don't like it. So I want to go find the job that I like. I want to go find the company that I like. I actually analyzed myself in my 20s, and I had over 5 to 6 job moves personally. And it again was, how do I make moves for promotion, income, and find exactly the firm that I want to work for? So I don't bash them at all, but at some point there were other studies showing that this slows down when you hit your 30s, because now you have mortgages, kids potentially, responsibilities, and then you find what your path is, your interests are, and perhaps you found a firm that makes sense for you.
I remember something that you said a long time ago when you were with us, and it's just one of those little statements that seems like a throwaway, but is so profound. Take a breath before you go in and quit. Right?
Yeah, sleep on it. Actually, take a sleep on it, and also if you have a family, talk to your family and talk to friends. I just had a colleague of mine over a few weeks ago, and man, she was ready to quit, and we sat down, and she decided to take unused vacation. That was part of the problem. She didn't take any vacation for the 7 years that she worked at the company.
Wow.
And sit down with her manager. And she's still there. And that 2-week vacation, let me tell you, it gave her a big breath, to, start to see, what's outside. And she went and visited her family so that she could get objective perspective and learn from her siblings, some of their thoughts because they knew her very well. So, yeah, take a big breath.
Also, note to employers is to be sensitive to those who are working for you, that they do need that rest. They do need that time off, that it's not the clock with no hands where we just keep working. Learned so much from Dr. Tracey Wilen. Before you quit your job, what you need to know, we've got the info on our Morning Air Facebook page. And if you want to share this bit of audio with someone who may be in this situation right now, you can download it on demand at relevantradio.com, our Morning Air show page, TraceyWilen.com on the web. Thank you, Dr. Tracey. Always very educational and very helpful, and I'm sure a lot of us are taking that breath right now.
Thank you.